This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good evening, everybody. I forgot I
wait a
switched the
minute.
microphones.
You can't manage your own microphone.
We are
there we go.
broadcasting live from the Diamond Head Beach Resort on Fort Myers Beach. I want to thank the staff for being so accommodating here at Diamond Head. And it's going to be the first Monday of every month where we're going to host the show here at 5 o'clock. Last week was a holiday, so we're starting this week. So it'll be the first Monday of every month here at Diamond Head. And thank you to everybody for being so nice. We have
to say it's really beautiful in here. I love these chairs. I love these chairs, and you cannot beat the view. Unfortunately, you guys can't see it, but it is phenomenal.
We were saying before the show started that the camera was
know what
straight
you're doing.
out, and you could see how nice the beach is right behind us.
We got to get a second camera.
But you couldn't see
and start
anybody.
Flipping.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. The first thing we need to do is get microphones that work when we're doing our walk arounds.
Nah.
So before we get to the mayor's questions, we have a special guest. Bradley Maloney is with us. And Bradley, thanks so much for coming on. And why don't you tell us about your organization and then why you're here today?
Yeah, you bet. We're excited to be here. So thanks a lot for having us. So we've been working several months on this event. So I'm with the Charity Pros, which is a Fort Myers nonprofit. We advocate for children's social causes and help kids have a better life. So anyone that knows about the Charity Pros knows that we do a lot of special events in the area to help kids and others. So, part of this hurricane that we've been working on, some of these events, is the Charity Pros Hurricane Heroes concert that is going to come up on October 7th at Hammond Stadium in Fort Myers. And this event is to honor not only the heroes that save lives, the professionals, the first responders, but also to honor the unsung heroes, the folks that's done exceptional things for the community, philanthropic things, the volunteers, and just, unusual things that people don't do until there is a catastrophe like we had. So we've put this together. We've worked with the county and the Mighty Muscles organization. This will be the first event that they've allowed on their field in many years. And we're very excited to announce tonight. The official announcement's tomorrow, but we're going to give the exclusive to Beach Talk Radio.
Very nice. We love it.
Our headliner for this event is going to be world-renowned band Matchbox 20.
Nice.
So, which is a huge band to bring this area that's never played here. And direct support for Matchbox is Don Felder from the Eagles. As you know, 4-time Grammy winner and 27-year member of the Eagles that co-wrote Hotel California and all the great hits. So he'll be here. And then opening up the show is an all-star group of our local musicians, many of which were affected by the hurricane. So we've got Bob Tabarini from Red Hannah and his band, and then special guests, Sheena Brooke, Maddie Jolly, and then some other surprises. So this is going to be a fundraiser event to help support our local musicians that, of course, lost, over 2,000 gigs probably in a year out here at just the beach live venues. So we're really excited about this event.
And so it's going to be on October 7th. And what time does it run from?
The doors will open at 4:30. And the show will run from about 6 to 10:30, somewhere in that time range. And it's going to be a really cool event. I'd like to tell you more about some of the surprises.
You got to keep it under
they're
wraps
really
a little
exciting.
bit.
But the official announcement's tomorrow, like I said. But,
we'll keep it quiet.
Yeah.
For you.
Oh, I know. Of course you will. But it's such a great event to, we're going to bring the community together to honor these heroes of our community and those elsewhere that's came in. And we've got some of the county commissioners involved, and our board of directors put together some ideas, and we've taken a lot of input from the community about this thing. So we're really excited to have it.
So are there any folks that will be honored that you want to mention?
Yeah, actually, we're going to start talking about those, and you'll see some posts over the next month or so as we talk about that. But unanimously, our board came together, and along with some of the commissioners we talked to, and everyone feels the same about this. That we want to honor both of you at this event. You are unsung heroes of our community, and what you have done as part of the just everything associated in keeping everyone abreast of what was going on. I was out of town. I was in Las Vegas for an event during that, and it was because of Beach Talk Radio. We knew what was going on back here. And when we came back, we knew that we needed the Charity Pros needed to take action. And we started flying to Pensacola and renting trucks and bringing hurricane supplies down. I reached out to Ed on where those should go. And that was how I first got associated with Beach Talk. But you folks have done so much.
Thank you
For so many people, just not here on Fort Myers Beach, but everybody that had property here, everybody that visited here. And the 75,000 plus, whatever you have now is just incredible. And we're just we're just blessed to have you two down here, on the ground for us.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
We do. I know we're supposed to say thank you, but there's so many people out there that did so much too,
There sure is. And, we're going to honor several people that night.
Mhm.
Some from afar that are out of state that's done things. But, as far as an impact on the community, Beach Talk Radio has done a lot, and it's been really cool to watch you grow. And we want you to be part of this.
Thank you.
I know
Thank
we
you.
just met,
Yeah.
but I have followed you since, I first learned about this after the disaster. So, and in addition to that, our good friend and commissioner, Ray Sandelli, who originally was talking about this event and what we were doing with it. He also suggested, and we unanimously agreed that Mayor Aller should be a part of this event as well. And everything that you've done for the community and continuing to do here for Fort Myers Beach.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Shocking.
So it's great to have you all here together. We do have other announcements to make as the next month goes on, and some of the others that we're going to be recognizing at the event. So, we're going to have you on stage. We're going to have you part of the festivities, and we're really looking forward to just continuing to grow Beach Talk Radio.
Thank you. And of course, Dan's business was 820 Buttonwood before it turned into the distribution center, which is now our charity. So it was huge back in the beginning, where it was the meeting place where everybody went down to hug and to find supplies. And it's really where the whole thing kept the community together. And it's the right choice for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's just grown legs since then.
Yeah.
Since the very early days of scrambling around, not knowing exactly what's going on.
I remember the
machine.
first day going in that place and
laying down the towels.
Oh,
and
there was so
trying
much
to get
muck
the
and mud
water
and crap
muck
in
out
that. And
there.
now the way it got cleaned up.
Looking at the thousands and thousands of dollars of golf carts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not just ours. I mean, that day we housed everybody else's carts.
And they all got ruined.
They all got ruined. We even housed some of the Mokes from our friends up in Sanibel in the building too, and theirs were wrecked. So everybody's were destroyed that day.
I don't think I ever told you, but way back in the beginning, it might have been your brother. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to rat him out, but we were like, we got to move some of these carts. So I went out and turned it on. It wasn't a good idea to do that. So
Did you break one of the carts?
I might have broke one of the carts.
So, Bradley, one question about when the tickets go on sale. Do you know that yet?
Yes, ticket sales will go on a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
They'll go on sale at charitypros.org. There'll actually be a pre-sale opportunity, which will be on our website tomorrow as well. If somebody wanted to get in and get some of the best tickets, there'll be information on the webpage about the pre-sale.
Charitypros.org. Gotcha.
Yes, thecharitypros.org.
Okay.
Oh, that. Yeah.
One more thing on this, the proceeds from this event will go to the Southwest Florida Live Foundation, which was started by some of our media members and musicians locally here in Fort Myers to provide grants to our local musicians that lost their homes, their cars, their gear. All these musicians that lost their gigs, they provided grants. And so they've kind of gone through that money, and we're hoping to help build that back up. And additional proceeds will go to the Tabarini Foundation to help kids that want to be musicians and would like instruments and lessons. We're starting a scholarship program with Tabarini to provide any kids in Southwest Florida these lessons and instruments.
Very cool.
It's going to
That
be
is
a great
amazing.
event.
Matchbox
That is
20. Never played in this area before because the venues are too small. And Hammond Stadium seats 7,500, which will be sold out for sure for a show like that. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, they've. I actually went and met with them and seen them on Saturday night Friday night in West Palm, and they're on their 25th show of the tour in 20,000 plus stadiums. They sold every show out so far. So
Big stadiums,
Yeah,
much
big
bigger.
ones.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else you want the folks out there to know? I mean, I'm sure we'll keep all the information out there and we'll replay this tomorrow when you really make the big announcements.
Yeah, great. We appreciate you having me. And charitypros.org, you can get all the information about our Hurricane Heroes, what we're doing, where the money's going, and more concert information. So we're very happy to have met you today, and we look forward to working with you as we get closer to October 7th.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Bradley.
Thanks a lot.
I'm really
was,
going to have to
not
have my
expecting
hair
that.
done by then.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
All
Well,
right. Big hand for Bradley, everybody.
you
Thank you
so
for coming
much.
on. We're
Thanks
giving
for
you a
having me.
virtual round of applause from our little music box here. So thank you so much for coming by. We appreciate you coming all the way to the beach there. So I didn't know, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Well, yes, I meant to put you on
Yeah,
the
you
spot
did.
like that. And
Yeah,
so,
you did.
so that's going to be a
It was very
fun
nice.
show.
Thanks
Yeah.
again, Bradley. Thank you.
All
okay,
right.
thank you.
So we'll get to our
I guess that explains the voicemail I haven't listened to from Commissioner Sandelli.
oh, maybe it does.
I'm curious now.
Any updates you want to provide the community? I know there was already a question about the hurricane passes because a press release went out right before the show. So
Okay. Well, let's
you
get
start
that.
wherever you want to start.
Let's start with that. I just read it myself, the official one. So what questions do you have?
Okay, let's see. We'll back up a little bit to see where that question was about the hurricane pass.
I think the general question is going to be, are the old passes going to be able to use those? The answer is no.
Okay.
You can come in and get a new one to show proof of identification. I believe that you can, don't know exact details, but I believe you can send in the documentation, mail it in, and get one sent to
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
Talked
for
with-
folks
talked
who
with
are
Andy
not.
just before coming here, and I believe they're only going to require one form of ID
Okay.
to be able to get the passes.
Yeah, her question was, are they available? Because she got a
Yeah.
text today. So
Yeah, there's a scan to stay connected on the back of the press release that was there.
hey Dan, can we just switch microphones because that
Yeah.
one's a little bit louder? And there you go.
Let's try that.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Better? I don't know. You guys got these fancy headphones. I see you kids
Yeah.
got
I
some
know.
now. Let's look at that.
Maybe we should get you a pair. We have extra pair at home.
Yeah,
Maybe-
maybe.
It really it helps you focus in.
Do you get to
Really.
hear the comments in your ears? I mean,
No.
Is this like fancy, or is it you just hear each other better?
Yeah, we
You're
just
right,
hear
Sharon.
everybody talking.
You're right, Sharon. Oh, the view is really starting to come in
I
nice
know,
behind
it
us now.
is.
You can
It
see it.
is.
Thank you, Greg. All right, so the
Maybe you
hurricane.
should have had me over there. I'm looking at the kind of eclipsing the whole view of the.
No, you're not.
If it
It's
wasn't
plenty of-
120 degrees out, we could do it right out on the
Yeah.
beach,
Oh.
but
That's true.
it's pretty hot.
Soon
Yeah.
enough.
It's
So the hurricane passes are available. Just
Yes.
go to town hall or call first, or what do? You just make an appointment, and or how do you?
You should be able to just go in and speak to someone at the administrative building. They'll be able to get you the pass. It always helps to schedule an appointment if you can. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily know if that's necessary, but there is some new information in the. We wanted to make sure, we've had a roundtable with the fire department and the police department and kind of discuss. We've talked to Bonita Springs to kind of see what they did and try to, because obviously we've got two entrances onto the island, so we want to work collaboratively with them to make sure that if we have to ever go through this again, we have a little bit better plan than what we
Yeah,
had.
it was kind of a
Mhm.
cluster last time. Like the sheriff's department was blocking off the base of the bridge, and it didn't seem like, well, at some point they weren't letting anybody on because of the search and rescue. So what did you? Is there anything from your meeting with those two organizations that you can share? How it's going to be better?
The biggest part I think was we talked about this right after the storm. The biggest point was, not to have everybody congregate at the base of the bridge. In order to make it easier for Lee County Sheriff's Office and for staff and for everyone else, if you can have an off-site location where people can go if they don't have their pass with them, or they can show their IDs and they need to be able to get on, they can get their thing. And all the sheriff's department then has to do is they can see the passes
Yeah.
hanging. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's doing that initial stuff off-site somewhere where
Yep.
it's not so
Mhm.
crowded to allow people that need to get in, first responders, the county sheriff's office, that kind of thing, to be able to get in the very first and most important thing after a storm like that we learned is search and rescue has to do their job.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have to be allowed time to do their job, and it's not that you guys saw there were so many cars that were coming on and driving around, and it was making it difficult, and it was actually taking much longer to do what they needed to do versus giving them a day or two to assess what they needed to do. And then you can start bringing people on. So we talked about, busing people in as opposed to having all the cars come on and off and on and off, having the place where they can just get on. They can come in a nice air conditioned bus. We saw people pushing stuff through the sand and dragging stuff back and forth, and just trying to make the process that much smoother. We're still working on details with the Lee County Sheriff's Department and obviously the fire department, but it was very nice to sit down at a big wide open table and hear what worked for them, what worked for us, what didn't work for us, what didn't work for them, how we can make the plan better. And I think we're on the right path.
One of the Julie says, what about hurricane passes for seasonal owners? Can we get forms online?
Yeah, I believe so.
And Jenny's watching.
Jenny's watching. I'll have
so.
her. She's got, it's too hard for me to read. I'm losing my eyesight, but it's
one of the things that, if you look back on it, it seemed like the search and rescue took longer. And I know that Chief Worth, he mentioned it at the last fire district meeting that they're really drilling down to look at how to make it not so much faster. Man, who the hell wants to go through that again? We have to knock on every house and look for people, but to figure out what a better plan is or a plan.
Well, and how to better use technology. I think that was a lot of things that came out of it. Is how can you use drones? How can you use other things to be able to, to survey a situation, to understand what you're going to need. When they came over the bridge, they didn't know.
Right.
Like nobody knew what to expect when you came over the bridge.
Let me just read this. It says, if you are out of town, email hurricane@fmbgov.com with pictures or files of the documents that show eligibility, which include
the address that the town should mail
driver's
to.
license, utility bill, deed, rental agreement, or mortgage statement or tax records. So there you go.
And you guys have a copy of that, right?
She emailed it. And if anyone has heard the email address, and Jenny will type it in there. She's on top of it, answering questions now about it, because that is important to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the purple ones are trash.
Yep, your old ones are going to no good, but they have the ones ready for you to get, even if you're out of town. It was important to make sure that people that obviously are displaced have an ability to be able to get something to get back on the island, not have to actually come into town hall to do it. So they got a process in place now to be able to help people out.
Speaking of town hall, give us an update.
So I had a couple conversations this week with FDM about, we're still in that. So what I thought was we were in the EHP, which is the Environmental Historical Review process of FEMA. And they're hoping by this Friday we'll get in the queue to be in the EHP. So we made an argument that the building is unsafe. Stuff is blowing off in the wind. We need to get this taken look at. So FEMA was out at the end of last week to take a second look at it. They met with staff. Staff was able to show them some of the documentation that we had of things blowing off the roof. So we're waiting to get word back on if we can get it taken down under the emergency safety requirements that FEMA. Otherwise, what happens is if you don't let it go through the process, you jeopardize
the funding.
You jeopardize funding for that entire project.
Is the process supposed to take forever?
Well, I've asked that specific question as to, what's and you get the same answer of, every project's different, every storm's different.
Case by case basis.
Yep. It's, in a way I understand it, they're taxpayers' money, not just our area, but the entire country that's putting money into this coffer. So I understand that they have to go through what they have to go through, and they have to go through their process. It's frustrating for us because, obviously we want to continue to move forward, but we also don't want an unsafe structure that could potentially be damaged, hurting somebody we don't let the employees don't park over there anymore. That's all completely closed off. Nobody's in there anymore just because stuff is blowing around and get heavy winds. And so it's just not safe to be in there. So they were out, like I said, they were out end of last week to take a look and walk around again and have a second set of eyes on it. So we're waiting to get word back on if they feel it's an unsafe structure and we can take it down sooner.
I hope they do it soon. I mean, because you are in hurricane season. And
imagine a hurricane, hurricane.
We're not the only, the fire station.
Right. It's not even it's all of the buildings that, pose a threat if there's any kind of wind event that comes up and then just compounds and complicates the situation that's already down here if this stuff takes flight.
I mean, seriously, Dan, it's kind of funny. I mean, in a
It's
way,
not
it's
funny.
it's really not funny, but in a way, it's like you can't. How many FEMA representatives does it take to look at that building and say,
Well-
"Oh shit, we need to take this down"?
Well, and I understand that, and I'm as frustrated as everyone else is. But
Yeah, no,
trust me,
no
I am.
one's blaming you.
It's. But
It's 10 months.
I understand their process that they have to go through. Do I agree
Or-
with it? No. Had we, some could argue that maybe we should have known what the process was. We live in a hurricane high risk zone.
Yeah.
We should have probably known what those potential steps could be. I mean, that's the way my brain thinks is, we should have
Do you
known.
think that would
roughly-
have? But do you think that would have changed the timeline?
I don't think it would have changed the
Okay.
timeline, but maybe it could have helped us set expectations from the beginning 6 months ago.
I mean,
saying,
otherwise
this could take a year,
Yeah.
could take 2 years.
brother.
they need to
hopefully not
come
2
and
years.
put something on top of it to contain.
Like one of those giant things that they had on the library for the termites. But then you
But
run
I have
the
been
risk
told
of
this is
touching it.
I have been told this is the last step in the process,
Yeah.
and they do not expect. We're like many other places on the island. We're in the queue, commercial business, and in the queue to have Ian Debris come in and take it down. But they have to wait as well. I mean,
Stephen, I'm going to get to that question for sure because I am getting that question a lot more than I have. What about Bayside Park? Anything
yeah.
new on
Yep.
that?
Bayside Park, I just confirmed, triple confirmed, quadruple confirmed. Our
Yeah,
goal,
don't tell him anything.
our
else.
goal is
Good
to have
God.
it open by Labor Day weekend.
Nice.
Wait, Labor Day's early September.
Yes, let's.
Wow. So
I said the same thing. That's why I triple checked it. I said, make sure. And before I came here, I
Labor
stopped.
Day this year.
I stopped. Yeah, I stopped again and said, "Are you sure?" Because I'm going to say something about it tonight. And they said, "Yep, we're gonna have it ready by Labor Day weekend."
So are you talking about having it ready because FEMA is helping out or because volunteers are going to get in there and
well, we're going to try to do both. So
Okay.
we obviously, if volunteers want to help, we certainly want to do that. The last thing we were waiting on actually wasn't a FEMA issue. We were waiting on the structural report for the columns that hold up the beams
Okay.
or the sunshades. And we just got that back last week, I believe. So that was our last hurdle, if you will, to be able to start putting things back together. We got an electrician going out there tomorrow to look to see what it's going to take to have to do that. About
Nice.
the only thing that's really holding us back is going to be FPL and if we need power to get there. But FPL has been really good with working with us when we need things fairly quickly. So once we can get that report back from the electrician, who's also looking at the time, the
Nice.
clock and time square to figure out what it's going to take for
Mm.
that. That's kind of where we're at. But we're going to seek anyone that wants to help, whether it be the garden club, whether it be your listeners, whether it be whatever. Becky Voss, our
Okay.
new attorney, she's working on the agreement or the waiver if somebody wants to come and help to make
Mhm.
sure they don't get hurt. But we all know that there's not a ton of work that needs to go in to get that back up and running. I think between volunteers and our staff and what we have going, we can get it done fairly quickly. It's just a matter of getting through all those hurdles, and I can say we're through all those hurdles
Yeah.
finally.
And the Songwriters Festival is at the end of September, and I understand there's a possibility if it's done, something
Mhm.
could be going on there as part of the Songwriters Festival, which would be freaking great. We would love
Yeah.
to do our 1-year anniversary show there too on the 28th, if that's possible.
Yeah, and there's it's still in the early. I guess I'll kind of give you a little bit. There's a Dish Network's got something that they're working on that I've been working on with them for the last couple of weeks now. So hopefully we can. It won't be for the 1-year anniversary, but it'll be somewhere thereafter about an event that they do. They started last year was the first time they did it, and they want Fort Myers Beach to be the second one. So
Wow.
that could be a nice 3-day event that we have coming up, hopefully at the end of the year sometime. So once I get more details, I'll let you know. But it could be a really fun event.
Now, one of the things that the Murph Committee has sent to the town council was something about the AstroTurf and the uplights. Is it going back to the way it was before the storm?
We have to put it back the way that it was before the storm. I mean, that's the only way FEMA funding works. So we've said it 1,000 times.
Right.
That's the way it has to go back. The only thing I think there might be some leeway on is the AstroTurf. It may be able to go to regular turf. I haven't gotten confirmation on that yet, but we're certainly trying to do what we can. But I don't know how many times I've said it.
Yeah.
It's
You
very
jeopardize the funding.
It's very strict on, you got to put it back exactly the way it was. And so once that's closed out, then you can look at other ways of doing things. But yeah, it's going to go back the way it was.
Gotcha. So the other question that Stephen asked, and that we're getting a lot more of, and I'm sure the town is, Now the time goes on that, how do you start addressing some of the houses and businesses that haven't really been touched yet? Is there some kind of process that Andy puts in place or you guys put in place to go and knock on, figure out they're all in different
What are you
stages?
gonna knock on?
I know, right? What are
Well,
you
no,
gonna knock on?
I've been very vocal about, it's hard for me to tell someone they have to take their house down when we're still dealing with ours, but it doesn't mean you can't start the process to say your clock is running. So I was working with Becky, our new attorney, this last week on drafting a letter that we could start sending out to people who we can verify have substantially damaged homes that have to come down, which I got the number today. Was FEMA sent us over 109 is their latest count
Wow.
of substantially damaged
Still to come
structures.
down.
No, that were substantially damaged after the
Total.
storm. Of the
Oh,
3,500 structures, 1,009 is, I think.
you said 109.
No, 1,009. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you did say 100.
I didn't mean
was like,
1,009.
wow, that's it.
Out of how-
1,009.
Out of how many?
I was told there was 3,501 structures on the beach. That was told to me at the very beginning when Commissioner Sandaly and I met with one of the SAR team captains, USAR team captains.
So 1,009 structures out of the 3,500 have to come down.
Were substantially damaged. Yes, which
Wow.
mean they
So-
have to come down. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not surprised, but
crazy.
when you hear that number, I mean,
I
it's
mean, you
just-
still see it too when you walk up and
Yeah.
down every street.
Yeah.
So,
I worked with Becky this week. She's working on drafting a letter sheet, and I don't have her email in front of me. I tell you, there's a specific part of the code that we had already in place long before the storm. I think 2018, 2017, that was put into our code. That there's an acronym. I got acronyms,
Right.
so
Yeah.
many
right,
acronyms
right.
I can't keep them all straight. But she was glad to see that was already in our code, so it makes it much simpler for us to be able to draft a letter, sending it out, saying you have this much time. You're going to have to work on some of the wording a little bit based on if they're in the queue for Ian debris. Obviously, they're waiting to get it torn down, like we're waiting for our building to get torn down. But we're going to start that process of sending letters out to people who are not taking care of what they need to take care of.
okay. So what if somebody responds, I'm waiting for my insurance. I'm getting jerked around by my insurance company. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, how much leeway is going to be
I don't.
afforded?
Yeah, I don't have that detail yet.
Mhm.
It's been told to me since the very beginning that this is going to be one of the two most difficult things that we're going to have to deal with are the condos
Yep.
and people's structures that are,
It's a sensitive. I mean, it's a tough spot that some of these people are in. I'm sure.
well, to give you an example to put things in perspective, we did that panel thing with Commissioner Hammond and
Yeah.
Carmine and Senator and as I was talking to a lady she asked me a question and I told her to talk to me afterwards because I didn't, I wanted to get more information on her situation. And so she came up and talked to me afterwards and she's telling me a story about how her and her husband had finally decided to move down here. They're in a condo on the south end of the island. They decided to move down here. They bought a condo in July of last year.
Mm.
Obviously the storm came and hit. They're now displaced. They can't get back in their building. In November, she lost her husband.
Oh,
So after the storm, she lost her husband. So of course she was starting to become visibly upset.
Mhm.
And, what can you help me with? I've already, I don't have a lot of money, but I've spent a lot of money in, assessments and things like this. And so I took her information and I'm trying to get as much information as I can for her. I mean, I can't change building codes and I can't change what you have to do, but I'll at least try to help her as much as I can. And as I'm talking to her, someone in the crowd who we all know or have seen before, we'll put it that way, came up to me and as I was talking to her and said, when are you guys going to get focused? We need to get this island built back. We need to start getting these businesses open and you guys need to get focused. And I had all I could do to restrain myself after hearing that story from that lady who just lost everything,
Mhm.
including her husband. And it put things in perspective that there's still people really suffering and there's still people that are dealing with insurance. There's still people that are dealing with waiting for parts. And as much as we want to forge ahead and not worry about what's in the wake, you have to really be concerned with people that are in all kinds of
Yeah.
different situations.
Mhm.
So
Got a comment from Jimmy who says, my insurance adjuster told me not to tear down until insurance is done.
yeah,
So everybody will be in a different
everybody's,
phase.
Right.
I
And
think
I'm guessing that there's probably going to be, again, I haven't talked to Becky specifically about this, but my guess is there's probably going to be some sort of you know, if you could show that you're working with
Right.
your insurance company,
Yeah.
obviously you're trying to take
Yeah.
steps. This is going to be more for the people who have just throw their hands up
Right.
and say, we're not going to do anything. We're going to put it up for sale and let somebody else deal with it. But that's not fair, in my opinion, to the people who have worked very
Yeah.
hard to clean up
Mhm.
their properties and get their place safe. And
So
you got rat infested refrigerators
Yeah.
next door.
So it does sound like these letters, the goal of the letters is to try and find out that group, the group that really isn't doing anything, and to try to get them on track to start
Yeah.
doing some stuff.
Yeah, we want,
Yeah.
you know, it becomes a very big safety issue.
Yeah.
Just the other day, the old tattoo place
Yeah.
right across from the goods. I saw someone climbing through that the other day. Anybody that's been by it can see that
Yeah.
every day those studs are bowing more and more.
Is
and
that
more.
in debris?
I believe it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
believe that is. I believe the old goods building is
Yeah.
Shamrock Building.
Okay.
There's times when I'm riding the bike where I'm like,
There's still a green
man,
car
don't
behind
let
that
this
building.
come down right now. I mean,
If-
it just
Yeah,
That's the one spot still on the island with a car behind it. Like you thought
Yeah,
all the damaged cars were
yeah.
removed.
You can almost see it from here.
So shoot, now I lost my train
well,
of thought.
he had
Oh,
a list of
condos.
things
No,
to
that's
go
right.
through.
You're covered. We're covering
No,
most of
so
it anyway. So
You brought up the condos, and I wanted to. You've heard or probably read some of the emails about the Batiki West situation where
Yeah.
they were getting ready to put in drywall and they were hopeful to have their residents back this year, and everybody was getting excited. And then they failed inspection, or the inspector said, maybe didn't fail, but he said, you got to put these vents in all
exhaust fence. Yeah.
in all your
Mhm.
bathrooms that they never had before. The buildings were built in, I think he said 73, and now they've got to delay the project, got to add cost to the residents, and they got to drill through the new roof they just put in. And I'm guessing that's the Florida code, right? It's nothing to do with the town.
Well, I mean, I'm not a building code official, so I can't tell you. But I did speak with Mike Law, who's one of their people there. I spoke to him on Friday, I believe it was, who explained the situation to me. Wasn't sure where to go, so I directed them to the community development, Steve Poposky and the development team, and let them work. They're the ones that know the code. Let them work it out. If there's something that they can do to help alleviate the situation and still be within the Florida building code, I know that they're going to do it. So I just assume that I don't want to give them information that's
Sure.
just send them down the wrong path, but
right.
I completely understand their frustration, and they're not the only ones. That's why I said this was the condo associations and the tearing of the houses down were going to be what I was told from the people up, after Michael said, these are going to be the two things that you're going to have to deal with in about 9 to 10 months. And they've been right on
Yeah.
everything that they've given me so far.
It just seems like in that situation, it was built under one set of codes. And so it's not being completely rebuilt. I could see that.
Yeah.
But it's not being complete. To turn around and say, now you have to.
Well, that's the unfortunate part of codes.
And it's going to happen a lot.
That's the unfortunate part, but the fortunate part of codes. It's unfortunate that you now have to comply with a new set of codes, even though you had nothing to do with it. But we saw what the codes did. They worked, right? For the houses that were built to the current
Okay.
codes.
Well, for sure. I don't know if
So-
that
Yes,
had anything
yes.
to do with exhaust
I-
fans and bathrooms.
Exactly.
Well,
but
but if I could, I guess if I could be any more clear in a message, it's not the town staff dictating.
Right,
It's
right,
not,
right,
it's
right,
not,
right.
It's
To
not
make
the
that
staff
clear.
that's
Right.
they can't bend the Florida
No.
building code. You just can't do it.
No.
And if the requirement is that it has to be done this way, then it has to be done that way, unfortunately. But if there's a way that you can, and there's in a lot of the Florida building codes, there's things that you can do this that
so there's
is
no
as good
special
as-
exception
not
or
that
a
I'm aware, but again, I'm
variance
not a
or-
building official. That's why I
Right,
directed
right.
them to the
So-
building
so-
officials
So
to
if
be able
this
to
is,
tell them.
we don't even know yet if it's a Florida code or if it's a town code, do we?
I'm pretty confident it's a building code.
Okay. Which is
issue.
a Florida, it's state
a
issue.
state
there-
building code.
I mean,
which
when
the town can't do anything
right,
about.
when the town has kind of exhausted all their brain power with a question like this, is there a state person they can contact?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a process you can go through to get the building code changed.
Oh, I don't mean that. I mean somebody even to call. Like, hey,
Well,
can
why
you
can't they
can
be
I explain this to
grandfathered
you? I
in?
mean, that's the thing that's frustrating.
Again, I'm not
Yeah,
a
no, I
building
know.
official.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean,
It-
if the town could snap their fingers and let everybody build back exactly the way it was, we'd surely be
Well, you
willing to
want-
do that. But
but building back, if you're starting from scratch, you're building back safer. But a building that's
Mhm.
already up for
Yeah.
fans
That
to
just seems like a
exhaust the
petty thing
smell
that
seems-
somebody should turn their head sideways and say, I didn't see anything. But
well,
I guess
my question is like, if when those codes go into place, then what do? Go to every building and say you're out of code and you're out of
Okay,
compliance?
that's what a building inspector does, right? He checks on everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you apply for a permit to make a change, they're going to look at all the new codes and see if you're going to
Eesh.
comply.
Can you imagine the building inspector that went into Batiki West and he sees they're rebuilding and he says, "Oh, by the way, you need a bathroom vent"? I mean, that just seems crazy to me.
But I mean,
Now-
you think about it. If you look
There
at
was an opportunity there
where
for
do
him
you
to
draw
do
the
it.
line? I mean, if
At a bathroom
let's say there
vent.
was but I mean, let's say that let's say there was a way that the Florida Building Code, you could just snap your fingers and change it. Where does that end? I mean, then I had my property was 25 feet over the coastal construction line. Can I build it back? Because I mean, where does it
That's
end?
a little
Is-
different.
I
I'm
know
just saying-
it's much different, but
Yeah,
you get.
I mean, I think if it's a safety thing,
yeah, for sure.
but if
Don't
it's,
turn your head.
I
there.
don't know. Maybe an
have you
exhaust
been in the bathroom behind some of the people?
Listen, he needs an exhaust. I wasn't going to go
there
there.
might be a
but
safety issue. I'm not
Just
sure.
light a candle. No,
Because that's
Definitely
safe.
don't light anything.
no. Just lastly on the condos, and for the first time, I actually walked from Times Square and then all the way to Bowditch and back, and wow, there's only one condo building open other than the Pink Shell. It's all closed. There's even a couple of condos that look
Have
like
you been
they
down
haven't
on the
been touched.
south
I know
end?
we always go on the south end
That's
and talk about the condos,
crazy.
but on
Yeah,
the north end, it's just
It's
as bad.
crazy quiet.
Yeah, the condos have. I mean, they've had a lot of things that they've had. I've met with several of them, and they have a
Oof.
lot of things with fire suppression systems, with pumps, with all kinds of things, electrical things that they have to update. Very, very, very costly. The assessments are some of the assessment dollars I'm hearing are just.
How do you
they're-
survive?
Unfortunately, some people aren't going to.
Yeah. Well, the last week we had quite a discussion on the comp plan and the LDC. We had Anita on
Mhm.
and
She
Bill
did a great job. Great job.
Mhm.
She definitely simplified it. And we had Bill Spakowski on Saturday, and he, I thought, explained it to the point
Here
where
we go.
you have to change the comprehensive plan, is even if Moss Marina went on. And as soon as the show ended, we talked to somebody on the LPA who was in the audience, and the person told us Bill completely confused the whole issue. So it's as clear as mud to me right now.
Well, the thing about I have not met Bill, but my
He's
understanding
such a
of
nice
all the people
guy.
all the people that I have talked to that have met him or have worked with him have said all the same thing, that he is very much a neutral person. He's not a, this is the way it is. This is the way he's very neutral. He's not pro one way or the other. He just kind of gives you the way the facts are. And,
Yeah.
and he's the guy. I mean, he's the grandfather of it. He knows what it's all about. So he's a very important person, I think, to be able to go to and talk to and
Mhm.
how does this fit within that? And as we've said all along, what is willingness to change the comp plan or the land
Well,
development code?
that you just took the question right out of my mouth.
Well, what's the question, dear? Ask it.
Well,
I mean,
will tell you.
we keep hearing, we've heard that there is not a willingness to do it. So
Well, I don't think that there's not a willingness to maybe adjust some things, minor things that you can adjust. I don't think there's any will to completely uproot the comprehensive plan and start all over again. As Anita
but like
said.
a minor adjustment, like what, for a specific area or
Sure, yeah.
something island wide?
Well, we were looking at these commercial zones or nodes or whatever you want to call them. Is there something? And before, when we first started doing this 2 years ago, when we first started having the conversations about it, the land was a premium. It was built out. There was nothing to be built on.
Mhm.
So you had to do some things or think outside the box to try to incentivize people to want to build in an area, to create that walkability, that bikeability, that pedestrian friendly thing that the comp plan envisioned. Now we're dealing with a whole completely different slate. Now we've got a whole it's a whole different thing. So some of those have to be backtracked a little bit and talked about. I don't think that there's a willingness to change the comp plan. I think that there is a willingness to look at some things through the land development code. And as Anita said, through the CPD process, you can certainly ask for things within the confines of the comp plan. But so far, all I'm hearing, to be completely honest, is it's not just one thing. It's we want parking alleviated. We want height alleviated. We want density alleviated. We want,
Mhm.
change the way the FAR is calculated. We want it. It's all these 5-6 things. It's not just one. It's we want you to redo everything. And I don't know that there's a willingness in the council and in the LPA and in the public to want to do that.
Yeah, especially in the
don't
public.
But I
So-
think people are open to the idea of if you need to get an extra story of maybe is in the comp plan, that's something. But when you start talking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 story buildings, I have not heard one person that is in, and I echo what Anita said about the one thing that irks me. And I had another meeting with someone today about it. And one thing that really irks me is when people use the financial viability
I
of a
can't
project.
make it work.
And I use the analogy, and maybe it's not a very good analogy. I can't walk into the GMC dealership. I did GMC truck before and say, I've got $20,000 to spend. I really want that $95,000 truck, but I want you to give it to me for the $20,000 price. They're going to look at me, Chris, cross-eyed and be like,
Yeah.
I tried it. It doesn't work.
So it's, I think people are willing, if a project makes sense for the district that it's in, people are willing to look at maybe changing a few things to make it enhance the environment of the island, make it get closer to what the comp plan envisioned when it was written. Park, walkability, accessibility, things like that. But to just shoot from the hip and say, we'll use Diamond Head because we're sitting here. I want Diamond Head, but I'm only allowed, tuck away.
Yeah. So one of the things Bill said on Saturday was he doesn't, even the way it's presented now, it doesn't, Moss Marina's project doesn't fit in the comprehensive plan. And he went so far as to say the comprehensive plan needed to be changed in order for them to get what they're asking for.
Well, I have not watched his show yet. I plan on doing that tonight, but based on what you just said, I would take that as in order for you to be able to approve what they're proposing, you would have to change a comp plan. That's to me what it sounded like he was saying.
Do you believe that's the
and then
case?
the zoning, right? Yeah.
Well, the zoning would have to be changed because they're
Right.
marina right now, but it would have to be changed to pedestrian or downtown
Included
district.
in that downtown.
Right.
Mhm.
So everybody's fully aware that it would have to be rezoned
Right.
first, and then you could come through with the CPD and ask for what you want up to that comp plan limit.
Okay. So,
Comp plan limit. Sorry.
so do you believe that project should be approved the way it is right now?
I haven't seen any plans. I mean, all I've seen is the renderings that you've seen. And I think that everybody knows it doesn't fit within the comp plan currently as it sits. But again, I've said it and I'll say it again. The sooner we can get the message out that this is the direction with the comp plan we're going to go, and
Come in with a CPD and see
come
where
in
it
with
goes.
a CPD and see where it goes,
Yeah. And that was the one part that Bill left out on Saturday was he didn't really mention the CPD until the end. That's the way you change the comp plan for your own project is you come up with a CPD, a commercial plan district, and you put everything in there, and then you go to the LPA and see if they buy it. You go to the council and see if they buy it, and you hope for 3 votes.
But if they all want to stick with the comp plan, even if they come through with the CPD, and
It's too high.
How do you?
I mean, you got.
How do you?
Yeah, how do the council
thread
and the
that
LPA
needle?
justify that?
Right.
Well, you talk about public benefits and what's enough public benefit for this versus that. But again, most of the projects that we've seen come forth have maxed out through the CPD process what they can ask for based on the comp plan. I mean, maxed out.
Yeah.
And some are over. So unless you make those comp plan adjustments, these people that are doing this are not stupid people. They understand what they're doing. And if there's a willingness for the majority of people to change a comp plan, then they have a viable project that they can maybe get through. But the way it is now, I don't see many of them getting through.
Right. And there's only been one application, and that was the Pink Shell.
Yeah, I
the
have
only one in.
not seen the entire application.
Yeah.
I did watch the show that you
With
had.
Bill. Yeah. So the
Right now, I think it's coming in August. The recommendation that came from the LPA as far as the calculation for floor area ratio, calculating for base flood elevation, which would require a comp plan amendment. That would require a comp plan amendment.
okay. So right now
So
you
to change
count
the FAR.
To change how it's calculated.
right
Yes.
now for people like me that are a little slow on these things. The floor area ratio was being counted. It was the bottom floor was included before.
Yes.
And the
For your
recommendation.
floor area ratio was counted from the bottom, included your parking.
Right.
Your height was calculated from base flood elevation up. The proposal or the recommendation from the
Is to
LPA
bring that in alignment.
was to lift that up to the same calculations that you calculate your height from base flood elevation. And I believe the question at the end was asked, does that include more than one story of parking? And if you go back, I believe everyone said, no, it's the first floor only. And it has to be used for parking. You can't put retail in there. You can't
Right.
do other things like that. That's the recommendation. If I remember correctly from what I watched, that's going to come before the council.
which could mean, and that's only in the downtown district, or is that in the residential area?
That was just in the downtown district.
Okay, which is really from
This is
Diamond
talking
Head to
commercial, not
Yeah.
not any,
from Diamond Head to like Nervous Nelly's over there, and there's some other pockets,
Yeah,
but this
and
is the
it comes
downtown
down.
district.
I don't know exactly. I think it comes. I'm not exactly sure how far down it comes. I know like the Sea Gypsy, I think, is included in that, but I don't know exactly how far past.
So
it.
really, it could give you.
Anita would know. I heard her say she's got a thing on the wall. She's
Yeah.
got it all laid out.
It could mean an extra floor.
It could, based on the, I think it was the 2021 or 2020, the bonus thing would allows you to get that extra 5 feet, which would allow you to get that 3 stories above flood or above base flood elevation. So it would allow you to be able to do that.
Yeah. So what do you think now when you think the progress is, I know what you're going to say, but I'll ask it anyway.
But see, that's where it gets confusing. And I think
I
that's
know.
where people, so let's say you're in the downtown district and you got the bonus, you can go to that 35 feet. Now that's when the land development code kicks in. That's when you have your setbacks, your height, other, parking, other things like that come in. And those are the things that don't require a comp plan amendment.
Right. So the LDC kicks in again. There's so many plans that confuse the whole thing to me,
Yeah,
which
it's a lot to keep up with.
which might lead you to believe you might need a CPD, right?
Sure.
Because, if you want to ask for extra, you got to get a CPD.
Well, it allows you to ask for more than what you have by right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
but
Anybody can build
without
right now
exceeding the
by
comp
right.
plan.
The rules are there. If somebody wanted
Right.
to build, if they
Sure.
thought they could make money
Sure.
from whatever they put up, if they have the
Sure.
property and a business plan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it depends on what you want, and I think that's kind of where we're at. And I don't blame them for it. I want to say I don't blame people for wanting to ask for more than what they can have by right. It's just a natural instinct for people to do that, but doesn't mean you're going to get it. But you can ask for it.
Right. And if we're being honest, nobody's getting 5 stories in this district. I mean, there's nobody.
I
How does that happen?
haven't. All the communication I've had with people, whether it be in person, email, whatever, people seem to be okay with 3, maybe 4 stories, depending on what the building looks like and a few
that's
other things
above
and
Okay.
base flood
parking,
elevation.
yeah.
So I mean,
We-
I think there's a willingness for people to look at something they understand because of the way they have to be built back now with the new codes that they're going to be taller buildings.
Right.
But can I've someone made a good point the other
Skyscraper,
day.
no.
Speaking with Jason Green, actually, he and I talk quite often about things like this. And when you look at a building, would you prefer it to be narrower, but maybe
And
one
higher.
story taller, but you get those extra view corridors and it's open underneath? Or would you rather have it go all the way out to the extents of the property,
Mhm.
be a flatter,
Yeah.
squish down one, but you're more of a mass, right?
She said something interesting coming over the bridge today. Margaritaville is only 3 stories, and that if people are talking 4 and 5, they were worried about the view coming over the bridge with Margaritaville there. If you talk about that district and 4 stories or 5 stories, you have no view.
Right.
I mean, you're blocking everything.
Well, and I think that's what everybody's using as their litmus test, right? You get to see what a 3-story building above flood looks like in the downtown commercial district. So that's what people are using because it's physical. It's just
Mhm.
there. You
Yep.
can see it, and you can see it goes, out to the property
Yep.
lines. Would
Mhm.
people been okay with if they brought that in a little bit? That's a perfect example to use Margaritaville. What if they were to come in now and say, we want it back then and say, we're going to come in 10, 15 feet, 20 feet on each side, but we want 1 extra story. Would people been okay with that?
Probably not.
I don't.
You look at the houses across the street; they're actually taller than Margaritaville.
Mhm.
The houses across the street from
from
On Crescent,
Crescent?
yeah.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
they're actually taller.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I
So-
think
They're-
Anita tried to make that
They're
point
narrow.
back
right,
in
right,
2017, 2018 in the council meetings is when they build the houses because the houses weren't built yet. When you build the houses across the street, they're going to be taller than what we're
Mhm.
allowing them to build.
Right. Mhm.
Greg
So-
says we only get 1 chance to get the height
Yep.
issue right. Once we allow taller buildings, there's no going back.
Yeah. So this is, now it is more important than ever for the constituents to get involved.
Yes.
Reach out to the LPA members, reach out to the council members, and let us know what is it that you want.
Which is tough because a lot of them aren't here. I mean,
Yeah.
someone was talking about the amount, the number of people in residence here, and it was a
500.
staggeringly low number.
If a developer adds bigger sight lines, what stops them from adding landscaping that once grown blocks the sight line?
Well, most of them will I'm assuming would talk about landscape buffers and things like that.
Mhm.
But to your point, I guess it would be written in the plan.
Can't
Once you
block
have
the
the
view.
plan, you got the plan. You can't, you can come in and ask for an amendment to the plan.
The process is definitely confusing and not user friendly. They need to simplify the process.
Well, it's user friendly for the developers that are doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that are developing massive properties like this, it's not their first time. They understand what they're doing. They understand. They may not understand the codes because our codes in Florida are much different than other codes across the country, but they learn it, or they have a team of people that does learn it, or they hire a firm that tells them what they can and can't do.
Mhm.
And that's how they get to that. But for the average person, that's why I keep saying it, this storm has pushed people into an arena that they just
Sure. Yeah.
If you're not a developer, you're not a developer. If you were a restaurateur, you weren't a developer.
Right.
You know, very
Right.
few people do both.
Right.
So, or if we'll use the goods. If you were the goods and you sold hardware, you're not a developer.
Yeah.
So you
Gotta
have
learn
to,
a lot.
You have to learn a whole new language, just like a developer, if was going to go sell hardware, would
Yeah.
have to learn a whole new language.
And I did do some research on there's a condo being built down by, it's not all the way south, but I saw them in one of my walk-arounds that they were being advertised for $4 million, and they're already building and they're already promoting it. And the research from that, they had already had their permits before. I don't remember the name of the place, but it's I think it's down by the Wyndham or the Outrigger, one of those two. It's pretty close. And they had their permits, like. And one of the things that Albert helped me understand today from Studio AD is like, go back and look at the permits and how long it's going to take from design to, getting all
sure.
that stuff in place. And, then the storm comes along and they had to delay it, but it's not like they got special permission to start building. They were already in the queue for a couple of
probably had already
years.
started the
Right.
design process
Yeah.
or something already.
Yeah. And so that
12,
was
12.
proof about how long the whole process takes, because you're talking about rubble. That's where a lot of these
Yeah.
people are starting.
Yeah, I mean, the design on a big building. Just look at when we were, Bay Oaks. That building took us a year in design to get to where
Right.
you work out what just
Yes.
and
I remember that.
10%,
Wow.
20%, 50%,
yeah, I mean,
70%.
it takes time. It takes, and then you put things out. When you're talking about
Oh,
development like
God,
this,
that's
especially
right.
if you're asking for something that you can get more than by right. Then you've got public input, then you've got council members you're talking to, and LPA members, and hearings and things that delay that process even longer. So the design phase takes a long
Yeah.
time, and then to build a project, a couple of years.
Yeah.
It's not happening overnight.
One of the things you mentioned, kind of that I want you to tell people the process. Sometimes developer will call you, they'll call Adderholt, they'll call Veach, and they'll want private meetings, and they'll kind of pitch the project. To kind of feel out how some of the elected officials are, feeling about a project, or think maybe they can understand better so they don't have to waste so much time. Explain to people why that's okay. There's nothing nefarious about that. That they can do that and maybe save some time. But I don't want to put words in your mouth, because some people want to know why they're private meeting. It's not really private, but I couldn't go. You're having a meeting.
Well, they're asking, here's what we think. What is it? Most people that I've talked to who have asked, some that I've met with, haven't even proposed anything. They just have asked, what is it that the town would like? What is it the town, what we know what we can do by right, but what is it that the town likes? What is it the town needs? What is it, things like that. So they're asking questions. They're not setting something in front of me saying, here's what we want. What do we got to change to get it done? They're not doing that. They're
Right.
asking questions. Still to this day, there's been two that I haven't seen a proposal or
Right.
a rendering of what they want to do. I'm sure that they're trying to get a consensus, or they're trying to find out what your litmus is for what you'll like and don't like.
Mhm.
And I try to be honest with them and tell them this is where you're going to run into major problems based on what the comp plan says and what the land development code says and what the community says, and let them decide from there. They're big boys and girls. It's not their first
Right,
rodeo.
Right.
Right. And no doubt they're trying to lobby you too. I mean, that's part of the process.
I'm never going to give someone, oh yeah, I support that, or no, I don't support
Right.
that. I'm going to tell them, I try to be devil's advocate and say, this is where I see issues. This is what I like about what you've got. This is what I don't like. I just try to be honest with them, but I'm not going to tell them I'm going to support or not support anything.
Right. Somebody asked, and I have no idea because I forgot. Do you remember what that building was next door that they're, I don't even remember.
No, I
It
know.
was-
I was just
think it
asked that the
wasn't
other
it-
day too.
It was
and
a
I can't-
condo, right?
Darrow Island
It was-
Beach.
They are rebuilding. I
Yeah.
mean, look, talk
Yeah.
about We know of a.
Honestly, I can't remember. How sad is that? We can't even
I
remember.
know. I
You
had
see
to
that a lot.
ask.
We know that they are rebuilding because they said they are. Yet look at how big the debris pile still is, and they're constantly working it. I mean, they're
When you go
constantly
by
taking it out.
It just stinks too. You just smell the
Mhm.
You can see the
wet
mattresses
mold
on the
and-
top.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just horrible, So I don't know.
I don't know what the
Somebody will know. Not Easter, Esther Island Beach Club.
Estero.
Estero
You
Island
forgot
Beach-
the O,
I
Ann.
think that's it. Estero Island Beach
Yeah.
Club.
Yeah.
That
So
sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I a couple months ago did a couple interviews at some places we're staying. What used to be here, and you have to look around, and
Right.
there's nothing for you to be able to recall what was there.
Yeah,
do you find it surprising that people still drive on the beach and get stuck?
I don't find anything surprising. I don't give you. So I got a call from a friend of ours last night who's living on Estero Boulevard, and she says, "I just want to let you know that there's a bunch of kids in the building across the street with flashlights, and I'm worried they're going to get hurt or they're going to." So, sheriff's department went out there, and well, come to find out, they're staying right across the street. They're renting an Airbnb right across the street from our house, and they're in the pool. And they're ranting and raving. It's a bunch of young kids, and so they're stupid people are going to
Yeah.
do stupid things.
Yeah.
And they weren't up to no good, but they were in a place
Looking
they
around.
shouldn't have
Yeah.
been, and they were told to leave. Nothing shocks me anymore.
Have you ever been to a vacation rental with a pickleball court in the backyard?
You know which place I'm talking about. It's the same place.
Oh, it is.
It is
Well, that
exact
is a
same
very
place.
nice house, by the way. So
Yeah. No, I've
Um,
never seen a pickleball court in the backyard. I don't know that that particular residence is going to be successful in their endeavor, but you never know.
it's not in the comp plan.
Hey, it's not 5 stories.
It might have something to do with previous service issues. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So did we miss any of your updates that you want to make sure we pass along?
Just
before?
a couple.
Okay.
There were 454 permits issued in June. There were 28 kids that took part in the Bay Oaks camp. We've had about 2,100 visitors since at the Mount House since it opened in April. Obviously, everybody knows how to check their permit, I would think, by now online. If you don't, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you. The big thing is we've heard over the last week or two is, and we just have to reiterate, you think it would be common sense, but make sure you vet your contractors,
Mhm.
as best you can. I got an email from a guy who was scammed
Mhm.
Wow.
very heavily for a lot of amount of money, and just be very careful, be very diligent. Slow down a little bit, make sure you do the right things, ask around before you hand them a big check, because some people are still getting scammed, believe it or not, 9 months after the storm.
Yeah, and on that note, if you're from outside the area and you're trying to get help with a contractor and he asks you to send you money by Apple Pay, I would say that probably
It's not a good idea.
Yeah,
should
there's
pass on that
there's
guy.
an old adage that says if it sounds too good to be true, it
Yeah.
probably is.
Yeah.
It probably is. And if you're not comfortable with dealing with a way of paying someone, by all means, do not do it. If a contractor, and I can tell you, doing this a long time, if a contractor won't accept payment the way you want to do it, that's probably not a contractor you want to work
Yeah.
with. A contractor works for money. If they have to get Venmo or PayPal, or they got whatever they have to do, what makes you feel comfortable with
Yep.
with giving them a payment, they will do it. The good ones will do it.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is everybody's kind of vulnerable that wants to get their work done. They want to get back in their house or condo, and
Yeah, and
sometimes somebody slips through
I
on them.
thought this was important to read just because it goes back to the amount of as much cleanup as we've seen, and there's still a lot of devastation. This is just the scope of work for the pool, just the pool at Bay Oaks. Resurfacing or redoing the pool surface, replacement of the pump room equipment, $200,000. Replacement of electrical panels, replacement of the pump room structure, replacement of the shade structures, replacement of umbrellas, replacement of slides and stairs, remodel or existing building structures, including offices and restrooms, replace programming equipment, replace fencing, replace the lighting, parking lot lights, audio equipment, security equipment, drinking fountains. You get the point.
Is that all FEMA covered? Okay,
Well,
thank goodness.
yeah, you've got to. It gets, again, you go into 404 and 406 mitigation grant funding and all this other stuff that is I'm still trying to learn.
Yeah.
The Tidal Basin handles all of that for us.
Right.
They once you get the project obligated, then you're going to get the money, then you can move forward and do it. We have the funding still in place that we can tap off of from the loan that we got, the $10 million loan that we got at a low interest rate a year or two ago. So we have a source that we can draw down on until we get the funding to pay it back.
Peter, Paul.
Yeah.
We're
gonna.
I mean, it's on some of these projects, you once you get that FEMA machine money rolling, then you complete a project, get money in, then you can use that on the next project.
But you have
Good.
to have the beginning part, the outlay first, and then wait for that.
Most
to
of it,
come
yeah. I
rolling
mean,
in.
they gave us, I think it was 7.5 or 7.6 million, something like that, in emergency funding up front right off at the beginning to be able to start doing some of the infrastructure projects and
Right.
some of the things that we need immediately to be able to function as a town. And you see the Earth Views out there cleaning up the
Yep.
streets, and I mean they're gonna have to make several passes of it. You saw what it looked like down by Wahoo Willie's.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I drove through there after that last hard rain, and
It was
2
like
feet
there
of
were no-
water.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have Andy on the show. Andy Hyatt, the town manager, next month. How do you think he's doing so far?
He was out of town for a few days for his son's wedding,
Mhm.
and he's getting caught up. He's putting the staff around him. He's got the support team, I think, in place now to be able to help him get through a lot of the things that he needs to get through. That's a lot of information for one person. So you have to be a person that's willing to delegate
Yep.
and trust that the person you're delegating it to is getting it done. And I think
Mhm.
he's got some people around him now that are, they're feeling him out as much as he was feeling them out. And you can start to see every week he's getting better and better and more comfortable and getting his hands around the big picture of what's going on. So it's nice to see, he started out slow, which is completely expected. You're coming into something completely, you're drinking through a fire hose.
Yep.
But he's picking it up. He's moving along. He's responsive. You ask him to do something, he does it quickly. He's communicative with residents, which is good. So
Yep.
he's checking off all the boxes, and he's going to continue to learn. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. So Chris and Keith have been great with answering questions if he needs some questions answers about some things that happened before he got here. So I think we got a good team. I think we've got
That's
people
good.
moving in the right direction.
So we've applied for our permit. Speaking of permits, or a special events permit for another 5K. Dan, it's going to be September the 3rd, the day before Labor Day. Are you going to run this one? Come on, bro. You got plenty of time to train. Get on out there. I see Adderholt out there all the time running.
He's a machine, though. I mean, he walks everywhere. Every time I look up, I'm honking the horn. Like, there goes Adderholt. He's
Yeah,
carrying mail. He's
Or swimming.
Yeah.
or he's swimming, or
He's-
that guy's a machine.
He put one of those girly things on him when he went swimming, those bobber things.
it's
What was that
not-
all about?
it's-
Get out there and swim with the sharks,
It's
man.
No.
Put a floaty
it's
on.
A swim buoy. It's
I
not
saw-
a floaty, you
Put a
idiot.
floaty on.
I saw
It's not a floaty.
I saw
it
Ed
goes
the other day.
behind
You were
him.
doing the thing at La Ola,
Yeah.
and he comes walking up through the parking lot. I was dropping the trailer off there for the water, and he comes walking up the parking lot. He's soaking wet. I said, "You go for a swim?" He goes, "No, I went out for a run." And then you wonder why I don't run. You look like you just got out of the Gulf of Mexico.
It was hot as hell out, man.
He was just.
I think I ran a
soaking
mile
wet.
that day.
I explained to you that.
And you
that
want
thing
me to
is-
run a 5K?
It was a bobber. He looked like he had
it
a bobber
isn't.
on the
It's
back
to
of him.
let boats know that there's a swimmer in the
He was
water.
10 feet out in the water. What boat's coming up that
There-
close?
Please,
I will
have
make-
you
I will
seen
make a
them come in
commitment to
down
run.
here?
As much as I can. How about that?
Yeah, you walked
Oh.
it the last time. No,
Yeah,
you did it in
yeah,
under an
walking's
hour.
the easy part,
Yeah,
yeah.
All right, Dan. Anything else before we let you roll?
No, I just
Dare you do
I wanted to give you a little up, just because parking, we see a lot of people coming down, and I think if you keep an eye on parking, it kind of tells you are people still coming down to enjoy the beach. And just to give you kind of some, in January there was $32,000 in revenue. February went to 48. March went to 50. April went to 73. May was
Nice.
75. In June it's come down a little bit, which is
Sure.
to be expected. But
Because it's hot.
well, because it's hot, but I mean those aren't by any means numbers that are close to what we're used to, but
Okay.
it's better than zeros. It
Yeah.
tells you
Yeah.
that people are coming down, and that's
Mhm.
still with Lynn Hall Park being a free parking spot.
Yeah.
So it's encouraging to see that we're still getting some revenue coming
Yeah.
in from that.
And-
We normally were at $2 million a year roughly, and this year through June we're at 340,000. So
Wow.
it's down
Yeah,
obviously, but
yeah.
it's not down as far as I think we
Mhm.
expected.
And all
And
of the
kudos to the county for their bathroom.
oh my gosh, the county
in
bathrooms in
Lynn
Lynn
Hall
Hall Park are
Park.
air conditioned. You can go number 2 in those bathrooms. They are kept
Do
clean.
they have an
They
exhaust
have
fan?
vents.
They do. They
I beat
do.
you to
And they have soft dish toilet
Sorry.
paper,
Yeah,
which is key to.
yeah, we could go a whole different direction with that, but we'll leave it alone.
We'll do that after you leave.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, it's fine.
So
No, I think we covered, most things. The beach berm, obviously, there was something I wanted to talk about on that. Look at my notes here. It was, where were we at?
How far down is the beach berm at this point? And does it have further to go?
It
or
does
is it-
have further to go.
Okay.
There.
Someone was asking me on.
Well, got to work around
Sunday.
shorebirds and stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
We're in that season, so they have to wait around that.
got to
so
watch out for the poison down there.
I'm not touching that.
Nope.
The temporary placement for application, a temporary payment application for temporary RVs changed. I don't.
Oh yeah, somebody did ask about that.
Yeah.
It's not free anymore, is it? You have to pay the permit. It's like $100 permit fee, or was it always that? Somebody asked. They said they had to pay a permit fee. Is it free?
For that, I
To have an
honestly,
RV in
I don't
their
know.
yard?
I'll
we got to
find
look
out
into
for you.
that. Yeah, I did get a question about that. But
I
I was surprised.
believe that may be changing because we had it at 18 months from the date of the storm, and the legislation that was just signed allowed up to 30. I think it was in Senate Bill 250, allowed for
Mhm.
up to 36 months. So-
Wow.
and obviously, state
Yeah.
supersedes local
Right.
jurisdiction. But I believe I don't know if we have to go change. I asked John, I think a couple months back, if that does get signed and go through, will we have to change it? And he said no, not necessarily. But I'll double check with Becky to see if we have to update our code on that.
All right, so you're heading out on vacation Friday, so we will connect with you in Wyoming or Colorado or wherever you're going to be.
Well, we'll see. Got to drive, so we're gonna.
Oh, you're driving.
Yeah, we're
Oof.
driving. So.
Bringing the dog and
No, the dog's staying back with a friend. We're gonna try to go out. Megan and I both
You're
turned.
driving from here?
Yeah, we're gonna
I love
drive
that
out.
idea. But
I don't love that idea.
Well, we got
No, I know.
we got the camper. We figured we might as well
Oh.
use it. So we're
Yeah, how do
we're
you
gonna
not drive
drive
each other insane?
we,
Headphones?
we love each other, man.
And you're going to be
And
50.
we have exhaust fans.
And you're going to be 50 and
Yeah.
Megan, I'm not going to announce her age, but
Well, we
He
both
already did.
we both
Oh.
turned the same. We both turned the same age this year. So she
nice.
she
Little
had her
bit
birthday a little
before you.
earlier. Mine's at
Mhm.
the end of this month. So we thought it would be fun to meet some family from Minnesota out and
You
do some
know, if you
four-wheeling.
drive out, you got to drive back.
Yeah.
I know, and
mean-
it's a lot. There's a lot of window time there, but
Yeah.
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
That's right.
Well, thanks so much for coming to Diamond Head today, Dan,
Yeah.
and we'll talk to you next week when you're on
That was a-
vacation.
That was a nice surprise too. That was nice. of
Yes,
Bradley.
yes.
That was,
Thank you
that-
to Bradley. If you didn't
Yeah.
watch the beginning of the show, you're going to
I
hear
think
about
he just goes by Brad.
Brad
Yeah.
Brad
Yeah.
Maloney.
And anybody listening back in Minnesota, he said he actually was he was at a full scholarship to play for the Gophers back in the 80s. And
Go first.
his mom said she was moving. I was talking to him beforehand, and he said his mom was made a choice to either go to Minnesota or she was going to come down here to the beach. So he decided to come to the beach instead of play hockey for the
Wow.
Gophers.
Said he
Yeah.
came down here
And that's a good
day
hockey
after he
team.
graduated
Yeah.
high school or something.
All right, guys.
All
Thanks
right,
for having
thanks a
me.
lot.
Thank you.
Mayor Dan Allers, everybody. We appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate the folks here at Diamond Head Resort for their fine hospitality.
Mhm.
And don't forget, we will not have any shows this weekend. We'll be traveling by plane to New York. So no show Saturday, no walk around, and no bike around. And we are going to open registration for the 5K tomorrow. So get your running shoes ready. And we appreciate everybody's kind words. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.